All right. So check this out, guys. My OpenClaw setup is now on cruise control. So here's the set of skills that it's doing right now. And by the way, it's doing that autonomously on its own, based on priorities, based on my identities, based on what is important this week versus next week, based on what was already built to make it stronger, based on synthesis, based on mutual dots of reasons between one identity and another. So I have an idea. Let's begin. So this think of it, guys. This is more for anybody who is trying to get into building OpenClaw. That could be Indies community members. It could be any folks out there on the internet trying to like simplify your business and do kind of and solve certain problems. So there's a couple of problems that I'm tackling it to solve. So number one is when I started using it first time, it was kind of trippy, meaning it would be going in and it would be like not really following, not really remembering what was happening in my previous sessions. And so the bottom line is I went ahead and I found a way for how to make it smarter. Sheesh. Every time I make it smarter, it becomes more and more like Opus 4.6. So it's kind of crazy, but craziness becomes from the relevancy. Craziness becomes from like when you create like a really good prompt, and you could spend a really long time creating a prompt. Typically, I spend at least 1 hour there, 1 hour back when I'm traveling, when I'm building a prompt. So in one prompt, sometimes I may spend maybe 2.5 hours just writing a prompt. Now, prompt is the real tea. Now, when I write a prompt, I write it in context of thinking how this whole thing is going to be applied in variably, meaning across multiple identities, multiple use cases. So that's kind of the top thing that I look for when I'm writing the prompt. So it may take me at least 2.5 hours to write a prompt, but after I write it, it becomes like gazillion times faster for me to prepare anything for like either one side hustle or another side hustle. And of course, guys, I'm doing many different side hustles. So when you start building a prompt for one side hustle, you also want it to overlap with another side hustle. So in other words, you want your experiences from one endeavor get carried over into another endeavor to create really powerful synthesis that will make your AI more personalized. And of course, a lot of people don't recognize that, but a lot of people, I'm sure you probably came across, they kind of look at AI content and they'll be like, that's AI, and they kind of just don't pay attention to it. So for the longest time, I was thinking, man, like how can I solve this problem? And the solution was in synthesizing different types of identities, prioritizing them, and tapping into emergent behavior. So that was the solution. Now it's a little mouthful, guys. Like, what is emergent behavior? How is it even possible? But let me just give you an example of what is emergent behavior. So, as you guys know, I have a couple of side hustles that I do across my personal life, my professional life, my passionate life. Like right now, I actually have a interesting consulting gig where I need to prepare a solution for police department to secure their cameras, that kind of stuff. And of course, guys, there's a lot involved to build this on a fully blown enterprise scale. And for me to be able to do so quickly and in a way where I could explain to like entire police department how I'm going to secure their environment, I need to tap into like superhuman intelligence, and not just human intelligence, but AI intelligence. And that's what I do. I tap into it. Now, how do I tap into super intelligence? Well, I have at least 20 to 30 engineers, guys, that report to me. And of course, guys, those 20 or 30 engineers, they attach to my framework. So, in simple word, this is how it looks like. I'm just gonna give you an example, okay? I do the same, by the way, the same thing that I'm describing, I'm doing not only with engineers who are reporting to me, but I'm also doing that with my students who are also, in a way, reporting to me, but in different identities. Meaning, in life, I have different identities. One identity is consultant. The other one is educator. The other one is builder. And there's several other ones. I think you got the idea. Now, how does OpenClaw know who I am and which particular point? And how does it know on which identity to focus on? And how does it know to maintain appropriate guardrails between different identities? How does it know what I need to know, what I actually need to do that will benefit me the most, while also benefiting other people who are part of those identities, who are surrounding themselves with that same identity? That's the topic I managed to crack recently. I started getting extreme amount of traction when I configured OpenClaw to use Git. At first, it felt like trying to manage a genius or set of geniuses with amnesia. At least that's how it felt when I first took a stab at OpenClaw and using models like Gemini 2.5 and telling it do this, do that, and you get that illusion that it's all good and working because it comes back, it did it for you, and you just kind of continue, only to realize that it wasn't really working, only to realize that it was capping, hallucinating, drifting, and causing you multiple it just causes you lots of time to go ahead and figure this out, what works, what doesn't. So the way I solve this is as follows. Number one, I introduced Git. Git is a local repository. It's like a memory trace for each time you write code. So when you reboot Gemini or when you reboot any kind of CLI, it's still gonna remember. But then I ran into another problem where I had to deal with I guess the powerful word for that, lots of scripts. And one of the top questions in my mind came, how do I deal with the proliferation of scripts? And this is how I handled it. Some of those techniques that I'm describing right here can increase your effectiveness about 100x. And of course, if you're doing this for your business, imagine elevating your effectiveness 100x with just a few of those adjustments. So what adjustments did I do to create 100x effectiveness in my personal, in my passionate, in my professional endeavors? Well, first of all, depending on the week, I may be doing one thing or maybe doing another thing. I didn't really want to think what should I build, what automation I should build. I shouldn't be thinking about that. So what I did is I offloaded it to OpenClaw to let it do the thinking. Now, this may be something that is oh my God, how do you do that? But the truth is, guys, it's really simple. You simply need to create Git repository, local repository, you need to tap into several models, like Minimax 2.7 with subscription of $10 per month, plus Gemini 2.5 as fallback, and if things don't work out, turn on Codex to sift through entire pipeline. And you need to give certain prompts. This may not seem obvious, like what prompts, what to do. Initially, you're gonna be puzzled, you're gonna be confused, you're gonna be struggling to pull OpenClaw in one direction. It will be clawing itself out of through another direction. Like I said, it's gonna feel like trying to manage a genius with amnesia. What I did next to kind of get out of the hole of managing a genius with amnesia are a set of geniuses. As I mentioned, I introduced Git. The second thing that I introduced is synthesis. Now, this is a powerful word, synthesis. What I mean by that? Well, you see, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. What does synthesis mean and how powerful it can be for future you and your side hustle or personal life or, I don't know, business, whatever it is that you're doing. So what synthesis allows you to do now, like every one of those things that I'm mentioning, start visually stacking them on top of one another. And each stack on top of one another introduces extra effectiveness. In fact, what I do is I compare effectiveness after each additional strategy that gets added, and store that and measure that and come back to it and keep elevating, keep increasing that effectiveness by doing continuous synthesis, simulation, and verification across multiple identities grounded by goals, responsibilities, and of course key performance indicators that evolve over time. Now, I'm talking dynamically, I'm talking variably, and there's a reason why I'm like that, why I'm not describing specificities, why I'm being abstract, why I'm talking slow. There's a reason behind all that. And that reason is, if you wanted to have centralized orchestrator that can sprawl itself across all of the scripts that you already built and compress them and decay, remove scripts that no longer used, not based on date, but based on intent and pattern. So what does that mean? That means OpenClaw. Right now I'm describing to you guys emerging properties of OpenClaw. What is emergent properties of OpenClaw? Emergent properties is when it starts behaving awfully close like human. Now, but not just a regular human, but the mixed version of multiple identities that you iterate through your everyday life. Now, let that register for a second. How can you produce something like this, emergent behavior? How does it look like? Well, when I open up OpenClaw, it already comes back to me and says, based on such and such activities that you're doing in universities, in university teaching, because it knows that I'm teaching in university, it literally says, look, next time you prepare a lesson for university, combine what you're doing at your consulting with the university to get additional labor from the very same students who you're teaching, while reinforcing and preparing yourself for the upcoming presentation for a meeting where I need to pitch the solution to police department. Now, this is a real thing, guys. This is actual real things happening in my life. I've been called upon by a powerful company to do consulting for police department, to secure cameras, to secure their infrastructure, that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, like, how does open come into all that? Well, you see, OpenClaw knows that I have this priority. I gotta prepare a presentation for the upcoming meeting. I gotta prepare a simulation and have side-by-side cohesive simulation with presentation, and it needs to be a fully blown solution. There's going to be a lot of people watching. So how does OpenClaw come into this? Well, you see, OpenClaw understands everything that I just mentioned. It understands my identity as a instructor, meaning my educator identity. It understands that I'm doing consulting. It understands that I'm doing luxury pet brand, paying luxury pet moms over 40 discover freedom and monetize the heck out of their pets, cats and dogs. It doesn't argue. It builds based on synthesizing multiple parts of my identity, creating mutual intersects of reasons that are highly beneficial for me and anybody who's involved in working together with me across any of those identities. Now, oh, hello guys, hello. I'm from Connecticut, and I'm heading out home. Today I'm heading out home. And yeah guys, so like that's what's up. Now, I only scratched the small surface of OpenClaw. Now, here's what I got it to do. Right now, on cruise control, knows how to derive automations, and not just standalone automations, but fully blown pipelines. It knows precisely why, because it's looking for the most beneficial intersect. Now, if you took a math class, I'm sure you guys probably heard of circles, Venn diagrams. Imagine you intersect two circles and you get an intersect. So the same thing with the identities. On every single, like in every part of my life, there is endeavors and there's identities. So their endeavors, you could think of it like I have a professional endeavor, I have a personal endeavor, and I have a passion endeavor. Now, the way I managed to get OpenClaw to display emergent properties is by adapting my Feudal educator clay, which is basically a framework that is tied to the core area of educator identity mixed with other identities in a guardrailed way where my students benefit from my identities, other identities, get a real world taste of the real world experiences, while also get an opportunity to work and, you know, maximize the chances of landing a full-time job or landing a contract, or you name it. Now, what I just described, that dived in deep in, like, intersects between instructor and consulting. So how does OpenClaw know, like, what am I talking about? How does it know